Hello class. Okay, so up to this point of our course, we can now create new users. From there, we can create a new conversation from here, and then we can also view our conversations and choose a conversation that we have created from our conversation list. And our chat is also responsive for tablet and mobile and also desktop devices. So everything up to this point is working perfect, and now we have to work on our send message component down below, because if we refresh the page, the send message is still visible. It must not be visible if there's no selected conversation, and we're going to send a message. So real quick, let us go to our Visual Studio Code. In here, since we're starting a new component, let us just close everything so we can just start afresh. In here, we're going to go to our app, HTTP, then go to Livewire, then here go to chat list. Here we're going to emit another event, and this event is going to be directed to our send message component. So here just type this, emit to chat.sendMessage. Make sure it's correct here in the resources, views, Livewire chat, this one, send message. All right, that's correct. Now I'm going to pass two parameters, the same as these ones on top. So here, this selected conversation and this receiver instance. All right. And by the way, we gotta choose the component where we're going to target this emit event. So here it's going to be update send message. All right. So let us just copy this one so that we can now, let's go back to our send message. In here, we're going to create protected listeners, quotes there, then just paste the send message component in here. Then here I'm going to create a function, type fun, in the tab, say update send message. Here we're going to receive two parameters, and that is going to be this one, conversation, and then here user, receiver. In here we are going to write selected conversation is equals to conversation. Here make sure it's this. Here we're going to type this, receiver instance is equals to $receiver. Here let's just make some models for these. So public $selected conversation, again public $receiver instance. So just to check if this is working, we are going to dump here. Let's do conversation, comma, receiver at the semicolon there. So let's go back here, just refresh. If we click, wow, so we're receiving two parameters here, that is, and this is being outputted from the send message component. All right, so this is working fine. So now we're gonna go back to our Visual Studio. In here, we're gonna go to our resources. Go to the blade, send message blade file here. You are just going to nest this in an if statement. Type at if $selected conversation exists, then show the component. Paste that in here. Go back to our Chrome and refresh. Before we click, there's nothing showing here, and then when we click, everything is showing there. Let's just remove this DD there. Get rid of this DD in here. Go back to your Chrome. When we refresh the page, or when we first visit the chat, it's not going to show anything. Right, no conversation selected. When we click, it's now going to show our chat box and our send message component, like that. So now let us send the message. When we input here, let us now send the message to our chat box. So in here, let us go back to our send message here. Let us add a model in this input, wire model, body. Then let's go back to our send message. Let us add a public body. Let us also create a function here. Function send message. I'm not going to receive any parameters. DD body. It's good to always check your steps, guys, so that you can avoid any errors. So in here, we're going to input a value. In the form here, we must type here wire submit dot prevent is equals to send message. All right, so when we click our submit here, it's going to get the input value from our body here, and it's going to send it to our PHP in here. And in here, make sure it is this body. All right, so let us try that. If let us just refresh. Let's click on Tom. Let's click DDD. All right, so we're receiving our message. This is good. So now let us now save this message to our database. Let us just comment this DD. In here, we're going to first check a simple validation of if the body equals to now, or just do return now. Here, make sure it's a double equal sign. Let's go back to our Chrome. Let's try to send something. All right, it's doing nothing, but if it's empty, it's not going to do anything at all. All right, so now let us now create the message from the body that we received. So created message is equal to message model create. Here, create an array. You can then add a semicolon there. In here, we're going to add conversation ID will be equals to this selected conversation ID. All right, add a comma there. The next sender ID is equals to auth. Here, just type ID shortcut, comma there. Next, receiver ID will be equals to receiver instance ID, comma. Body will be equals to this body. Right, so after we've created our message, next we're now going to update our conversation model. This selected conversation get the last time message from the database. So that we're pulling the model now, last time message, and the purpose of this is so that we can put our latest conversation at the top, guys. So is equals to this created message created at. So here we're actually getting the last time they created at of this newly created message. Let us actually remove the this. We don't need to. All right, so next we're going to save this query. This selected conversation, save. Okay, so after saving, and then here we can, before we do that, on the top here on the created message, here, make sure you have some brackets there, otherwise to give you an error. So if we go back to our Chrome, and then let's just refresh. If we click on Tom and then click hi, and then click send, right now the message is actually saved. But if we click on Tom again, you see that the message is actually in the database, but we have to work on updating it on our front end. Here on Cake and Tom, we have two different messages. And I've also noticed that this message is supposed to appear on the right since we sent it. So let's go back to our Visual Studio, go back to open our chat box. In here, go to the message chat box body and then message body. And you're gonna add a little PHP auth ID. We're gonna check if the authenticated ID is equal to the sender message. Message sender ID. If this is true, then we're gonna add a different class from this one. We're gonna add a message MSG. Remember, we added these in when we're designing our chat components. So message body me, or else message body receiver. I'll make sure you have that correct, and just remove this one here. So our message now, if we try to refresh, our messages are now appearing on the correct side of the chat. And also I've noticed one more thing, guys. Here there was an error on calling these conversations. So if you have this one too, you just check it in case. You can go to the chat list. In here on the receiver, supposed to be receiver EI, not IE. So if you also have this error, just make sure it's correct and then go back. It's supposed to pull out the right conversation that we have now. So right now our chat is working perfect. And then in the next video, we're going to work on updating this in real time. So see you in the next video.